Just some introduction. Rosewood is a school just outside Cape Town in Bonteheuwel. I don't know how many of you know where Bonteheuwel is. If you go down to the airport, it's always on your left-hand side. And Mrs. Fahima Meyer, she is the principal. Something about Fahima, and I will talk in her absence. She is a dedicated woman that actually loves her job so much. I was for a week away in the States, and so there's a couple of times that I couldn't meet, and then we met most of the time during the school holidays. When everybody else was having a bit of a break, she would actually say, yes, let's meet. Rosewood is about one of 13 primary schools in Bonteheuwel, so there's quite a lot of schools there, and it has been in existence since 1963, and in 2015 they moved into their new building. Rosewood used to be in Rosewood Street. If you know Bonteheuwel very well, just before you get to Netrecht, that is where Rosewood used to be. Now it's a beautiful school, and it services learners from not only Bonteheuwel but also the Gugulethu and the surrounds. And it caters from grade R to grade 7, and then the most important thing for a lot of parents, it is a no-fees school, and that's part of the challenge. Myself, through Inmarsat, it's made it possible for me to join the program, which I'm very grateful for because it opened my eyes. I was a troubled child at school, and so schooling, I hated it. Most of you, if you were schooled in South Africa, would have attended school for 12 years. I think I attended something like 9 or something like that. So I hated school, but coming onto the program actually made me see the real thing. And so many times we think that in a primary school, you educate children to push them over to the next grade. But you're not actually. You're laying the foundation for the next engineer. You're laying the next foundation for the neurosurgeon. And we sometimes forget that. And that I came to appreciate. I'm an engineer a civil engineer by profession. I was at a conference, and then they don't understand this thing called informal settlements. They call it slums in overseas. And so I'm going to say to you, I'm working slums. So I work in informal settlements in the Cape Town metropolitan area, trying to better the lives of people that work there. That is a nice picture of Rosewood. It's a brilliant school, one of the more modern buildings. And the vision of the school is to provide a holistic and educational experience for the whole school community so that every learner and educator may reach his full potential. Remember that potential? And that potential is endless. At a primary school, just think about it. It is endless. It is what we put into it. So we've had a program whereby we engage with the parents to get involved in the life of the school. And one of the biggest challenges that we have in some of our, I'm going to call it for a better word, working class neighborhoods, is that the parents come home tired. And then they still need to look after homework, read, and all those things. And that's the last thing that is on their agenda forever. We one day tried to set up a meeting in Netrecht, which is just the neighboring community, and we set the time, and the people said to us, no, are you mad? That is Sevendelaan. And so people are not interested in your things, it is Sevendelaan. And so many times that is what the children get when they come home. And so when you think about it, they've got to first share their parents with Sevendelaan before somebody can read to them, check their homework, and those kind of things. Bit of a challenge. And then also, because it's a no-fees school, people really feel that no fees extend even to, I'm not supporting the fundraising. Why can't the fundraising be free? And then it's this whole supporting the teachers in sending children regularly to school, or parents, sorry, that's a typo there. It's supporting parents, getting parents and grandparents and guardians to actually encourage children to come to school. In the community of Bonteheuwel, that's not the in thing, you know. So if you go to school, you go to school, and sometimes you see that if you drive through the area. And then also engaging with a school governing body to actively be involved in generating additional income, because there's always a shortfall. And it's about real money issues. And then motivating the school management team to motivate others in celebrating their diversity and experience at the school. It is about getting everybody excited. Now, imagine, I live for my work, unfortunately, and I think constantly of what I need to do next. But if you have got all this negativity around you, how difficult it is to get up in the morning and saying, I'm going to work. I think about it all the time. I work in the worst conditions, and I need to, and we had that workshop with Lynn, and where we brought out the positiveness out into life. And we can actually start thinking positively about our work condition. And so not for everybody, that is the everyday. But let's look at it, and at Rosewood, we've celebrated people with 30 years and 40 years of service. I mean, that's a lifetime of educating kids. Now, I know some of I picked up the phone book one day, and I phoned a couple of people that I might know, and Facebook is a brilliant tool, and I try to link with some of these people, and I would ask them, did you grow up in Bonteheuwel? And if the answer is yes, do you know Rosewood? And so some of the kids actually, some of the successes of Rosewood, you might not know it, the news editor for the Cape Times up till about a couple of months ago, was Mandy King. And she was at Rosewood. She's now the editor of The Voice in Cape Town, one of the tabloid newspapers. And so something good can actually come from that situation. Some of the issues around learners, discipline. Those of us who know Bonteheuwel can understand, you know, deep discipline issues. Because if you mess with me, I'm going to tell my dad. You know who my dad is? Just check on the August front page. So you have that kind of situation, and as a teacher, I would be scared, I can tell you that. Gang-related violence in the area, that's all around the school. The socio-economic conditions, there's a breakdown of the social fabric, of family, of everything. And that is what is around the school that eventually comes into the school, and the teacher and the principal now needs to deal with that. What a challenge. Drug abuse. There's an enormous amount of drugs going through our system. And children at a much younger age now becomes exposed to it, and that is a challenge for the school. That's just last year's figures on the school, so they're about roughly 563 last year. This year, a little bit more. So it's ever increasing. And so for the learners, there is a definite need to actually bring these guys in. And you park them in front, and you let them tell the story so that children can see. But this is a real thing. It's not just the deputy principal that talks about it. It is actually the police is here to actually tell us about these things. And then our parents and our community. It's very difficult to get the parents enrolled on the school's vision. It is one of the most difficult tasks, yet we're going to try it, and we have tried one of those steps. We started with a bottom-up approach, and we started with a grade R learners. So if you wanted to bring your child to the school, we had a workshop for the day, and they had to really say, why do you want to bring your child here? And I think it made some parents think. I hope nobody took their child and says, I'll go somewhere else. And so we had this workshop and this engagement with the parents so that they can literally sound it out. Why am I bringing my child? But they need to commit for their part. If they can't commit to their part, they can't expect the school to do the 100%. And then it's also involving the parents in the functioning of the school. There was a high tea that we had, and then acknowledging the children, how the children has achieved. And so we had awards ceremony or awards day late last year, which was very well and well attended. And then in terms of infrastructure and the environment, the school has got a brand new building. And the problem with brand new buildings, they don't come with the enhanced items that makes it functional. That's one of the biggest challenges. How do you, being in engineering, we build these things. But when we're done with them, the only thing that there might be on the floor is a carpet. And then you might have had somebody even better than me, because that is what it's all about. And so it impact on the operational budget. Not more maintenance and repairs are needed. If you look at the area where the school is, you are more likely to have your windows broken than any other school. And so even though it's a new building, the maintenance is a lot more. And sometimes I ask myself, does the Department of Education understand that? Just because I've got a new building doesn't mean my maintenance is less. I might have much more. You know, copper taps, you take them off just like that, and you go sell them at the scrapyard, and that water runs for about 12 hours until tomorrow morning, so you got a high water bill, no taps, and so your maintenance is more. So those are the realities for a school in an area like Bonteheuwel. I call it the empty shell syndrome. I give you this empty shell, but to be able to educate children, I need other things in there. Computers, sound system in the hall to make it functional, enhanced security due to the location. Those are the things that is challenging in an area such as this. That's a nice aerial view of the school. This is a piece of vacant land, and if you, I don't have a photograph of the old school. The old school was partly, it was a brick plinth and then wooden top structure with a wooden roof, and I think it was asbestos on top of it. Now it's a very functional building with beautiful courtyards, and most of you who has been there have witnessed this. And so challenges, it's about getting slots in our busy schedules to actually meet together. That is one of our biggest challenges here. And gang violence, if there's violence in the area, it becomes difficult for learning to take place. Socio-economic conditions for learners. I don't know how many of you are aware of it, but in some of our areas, and this is one of those areas, where you would have a main house that was a municipal house. And in the back of the yard, because there's a railway line that also runs at the back, so there is this rail reserve that is at the back. And that rail reserve is now filled with shacks and informal dwellings. And that is also where a lot of these learners actually come from. And it's not easy conditions where they actually come from. So there's the safety issue of learners and the staff at the school. When they're shooting, what do? The parent wants the child home now. But you know you can't release that child into the street because you don't know, they might just get caught up in crossfire. The ability to attract younger staff due to the location. I mean, if you graduate, wonderful teacher, and they say to you, Bonteheuwel, and you say, no, I'll wait for a year. I'll go do my honors. That's what they say, I'll go do my honors. Top-up funding for for effective running of the school. There's always that top-up funding that is needed. That's a big challenge. How do you get money into it? And then there's also a general spillover of the social conditions into the school. Children now become, we were talking about this one child, and I know about the situation where the child is just becoming disruptive in the class. What do? You really, that home situation has now come to school. How do you deal with it? Continuous motivation for staff. I mean, you must continuously motivate people to work in that environment. You can't just say to them, well, you get paid. Yes, the other teachers in the other areas also get paid, but they don't have to work where we work. And so you really need to have a passion. Keeping the parents engaged with the school. You know, parents can lose their engagement where they forget about what really happens. And then extramural activity funding. I know that there is some funding that comes in through the JAG Foundation, where they actually engage with the children, which is a very good program, but more is needed. Because what does these kids actually do when they go home? And so that extramural activity is really what is needed as well. Some of the highlights, I spoke about the grade R enrollment, and the school also runs a feeding scheme as part of the school. And Fahima one day said to me, how do you give one child, because apparently there is a ratio that the department works on as to what they fund. So how do you give only a few children food while everybody is hungry? Because the formula says that is how much you're going to get. And so it becomes difficult to deal those things. But they run a full kitchen and they supplying everybody who wants to have something to eat. And then we had the award ceremony last year. And also, three things that I just wanted to ask Fahima, what was good about our relationship? And she says, providing energy and excitement, providing a platform for engagement, and the school's ability to do well under trying circumstances. And that was one of the things. And so when I was introduced, Fahima introduced me as my partner. And then immediately after that, she said, now he is our partner. And I'm going to give Mrs. Aris an opportunity to speak on some of her experiences of our partnership.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I did not prepare this with Hilton because of circumstances, but I was just jotting down a few things. When the principal said that they're going to start this new venture and it's going to be a business partner. When we heard business partner, we just saw notes and we saw how the money is going to come in. So that was what we were thinking. Because of what Hilton just mentioned, the lots of challenges that we have at the school, and I'm sure the other schools can also talk about that. So yes, we thought loads of money. Then we had a meeting with the SMT, and our ears was just, when is he talking about the money? When is he talking about how we can raise this money? But you know, we learned something. The thing that he taught us was, the solution is in your hands. You must just see it. You must be able to find it. The one meeting that we had with the SMT and Hilton, he said, go onto the website, go and check out where's your previous learners who left the school, who became something in life. I'm one of those 40-year-old guys there. So lots of learners came through our hands and they have made it in the market, in the business world. So get hold of them. And as a matter of fact, you didn't come back to us, but we started this. I got onto Facebook and we started to contact these learners and they responded. So the thing that we learned was networking, and how important networking is. That was the one thing. Then you also met with the educators, and obviously they were also waiting for that keyword, money, money, money. But when we left that meeting, everyone was talking about this wonderful man that gave them something to think about. And he made us realize that whatever we needed was there. We had it. We just had to spot it and work with it. So I want to thank you for that, Hilton. He taught us also to become a partner instead of a staff member. So often we're just staff members, but we're not partners. And when we as a staff become partners, then we start to really work. Because then we can meet one another as far as strength is concerned, as far as weaknesses are concerned. So one thing I also want to say about Hilton, what you saw there on the screen, he seldom came to school empty-handed. When we had that function, he said, I will bring this. I will bring that. I don't think a company donated it. I think it came out of his own pocket. So he taught us also have a heart of giving. So once you give, even if it's one loaf of bread, you give that loaf of bread, God will multiply it, as we have seen. So I thank you for the opportunity that we had to really walk this journey with Hilton. It wasn't only Ms. Fahima Meyer, and may I say, we were often very jealous because they were talking in the office alone and we wanted to be there and also know what they were talking. But she would also always come back and say, this is what I have learned. She would share, and through that sharing, we all learned. And I want to encourage you guys, go on with the good work that you're busy with. Thank you.